They're the reigning world champions and the team led by maybe the greatest player in the history of the game, Lionel Messi. So how did this South American football dynasty begin, and how did they rise to be one of the most successful footballing nations in history? The Argentinian Football Association was created in 1893, formed by a man from Scotland named Alexander Watson Hutton. Argentina was the first South American country to form an association to regulate football in their nation. They were nicknamed La Albiceleste, which means the white and sky blue, referencing their famous kit. They were ready to play, and the first game for the national team came in 1902 when Argentina faced Uruguay. Argentina hammered Uruguay 6-0. This also started a bitter rivalry between the two nations during their earlier years. Argentina were the trailblazers in South America and inspired their fellow nations to come together to compete in a tournament. In 1916, Argentina hosted Brazil, Chile, and Uruguay in a tournament called Campeonato Sudamericano de Fútbol. This tournament would evolve into what we know today as the Copa America. Uruguay won the tournament, and so began a long tradition of South American nations doing battle on the football pitch. Argentina won the tournament for the first time in 1921. More South American teams joined the tournament, but Argentina and Uruguay were dominating in South America. Argentina won again in 1925, 1927, and 1929. One of the first great superstars of Argentinian football, Manuel Seoane, was a goal-scoring beast for Team Club Independiente, and he transferred that goal-scoring talent to the national team, scoring 14 goals in 19 games. This started a long-lasting love affair between Argentina fans and their favorite mercurial strikers each generation. There was still something that Argentina had not done though, and that was to test themselves against nations from Europe, the birthplace of football. During a tour of Europe in 1925, Argentina won 16 out of 19 matches, proving their quality. Teams competing from around the world only had the Olympics at this point, but in 1930 a new tournament was devised that would bring together teams from around the world. The World Cup was born, and the first tournament kicked off in the home of Argentina's fiercest rivals, Uruguay. 13 teams competed, and Argentina's striker, Guillermo Stabile, ended up as the tournament's top scorer. But that trophy would end up with Uruguay's name on it after they beat Argentina in the final. 10,000 Argentinian fans traveled to watch an incredible game, where Argentina were leading the match 2-1, only to taste defeat, losing 4-2. For Argentina, that bitter defeat was followed by disappointment after being rejected as hosts for the 1938 World Cup, and this caused them to drop out of the 1934 World Cup. Italy won the second World Cup, but ironically were actually fielding 4 Argentinian players on their roster. Argentina's World Cup exploits took a turn for the worse for the next 30 years. It was a mixture of underperforming or simply not entering. Despite their World Cup difficulties though, Argentina was still showing the strengths in the Copa America, winning it 4 times in the 1940s and a further 3 times in the 1950s. Argentina had been known for creative, attacking football, but they changed their ethos in the 60s to a more defensive and aggressive style of play that didn't sit well with fans. Their World Cup appearances in 1962 and 1966 ended in disappointment. In the 1966 World Cup, Argentina were defeated by England after Jeff Hurst scored the winning goal. This tough game was also seen as the beginning of an intense Argentina and England rivalry that famously became very bitter in 1986. Stick around to find out why. Argentina hit a dry spell, unable to lift silverware throughout the 1960s and most of the 70s. They lacked iconic heroes throughout the 1960s who could match the exploits of their best players up until then. Argentina needed to find their mojo, and they needed the kind of show-stopping flair players they had back in those peak years. And you know who comes next? No, not Diego. Yet. In 1975, there was a midfield maestro with dazzling dribbling skills who also became a star in the English First Division. Osvaldo Ardiaz, known affectionately by Tottenham fans as Ozzy, made his first appearance for Argentina in 1975. 3 years later, and Argentina were in the World Cup that seemed destined to turn orange. Holland had a team that many felt were excellent. Argentina, with the likes of Ardiaz and some other flair players like Mario Kempes, met the Dutch in the final and showed no mercy. Kempes scored twice to help Argentina win their first World Cup, setting them forth into a new era personified by creative flair and mercurial talents. Between 1978 and 1990, Argentina were one of the best teams in the world, and by the time the '82 World Cup rolled around, the era of a kid dubbed the Golden Boy came around. Even by the standards set by great players before him, Maradona was a player of indescribable talent. Much was expected of Argentina in the 1982 World Cup and of their new hero, but unfortunately, they choked. Maradona had the weight of a nation on his shoulders. Whilst the Falklands conflict seemed to affect the Argentinian mindset thanks to a lot of negative press, they lost to the eventual winners, Italy. By the time the next World Cup rolled around, Argentina were better, more focused, and Maradona was coming of age. Argentina got through their group and, with 2 comfortable wins and a draw against reigning champs Italy, to make it even sweeter, in the round of 18 game, Argentina beat their old rivals Uruguay to grab a place in the quarterfinals against England, who had Gary Lineker scoring for fun. The Falklands added fire to the rivalry between Argentina and England, and an iconic match and a defining moment for Maradona was about to make that rivalry inextinguishable. Maradona produced a moment that caused fury among English fans. The notorious Hand of God as the diminutive attacker jumped to compete with goalkeeper Peter Shilton for a high cross, and the only people among millions watching who didn't see this were the match officials. Even that Hand of God can't overshadow what Maradona did 4 minutes later. His incredible solo goal remains one of the best World Cup goals ever scored. Maradona then led Argentina to a final showdown with Germany after beating Belgium. It was an incredible match, and Argentina won it 3-2 with an 83rd minute winner from Jorge Burruchaga. In the 1990 World Cup, the 86 final was repeated when Argentina faced Germany once again, but this time the Germans won, and Maradona was frustratingly quiet. Many expected them to make it 3 World Cup trophies in 4 tournaments, but Germany had other plans. The 1994 World Cup was a marked difference to the 78 tournament. If Maradona had been deemed too young to make the squad in 78, some fans felt he was too old and out of shape to make the 1994 World Cup. After 2 games in USA 94, and despite scoring a goal with an iconic celebration, 33-year-old Maradona got sent home after failing a drugs test. Argentina lost to one of the surprise packages of the tournament, Romania, who boasted a player who was compared a lot with Diego, called Georgi Hagi. Argentina had great players over the next decade, like Gabriel Batistuta, Diego Simeone, and Riquelme, but didn't get past the quarterfinals in the World Cup. The 90s did see a return to winning ways in the Copa America, however, with wins in 1991 and 1993. But once Maradona had bowed out of the team, they hit a dry spell once again. Argentina had lost one of their once-in-a-lifetime superstars, and although they had some world-class players, they were missing a GOAT contender. That is, until another diminutive left-footer called Lionel Messi arrived at Barcelona. He moved like Maradona. Messi was dominating La Liga with Barca, especially under the guidance of Pep Guardiola, and was thrust into the national team. Things didn't start too well. Argentina continued to frustrate in the Copa. 2 years after his Argentina debut, and only 18 years old, Messi was named in the 2006 World Cup squad and scored his first World Cup goal against Serbia. Argentina were knocked out in the quarterfinals. In 2010, Messi was already considered one of the best in the world, and expectation followed, but they couldn't get past the quarterfinals once again. In the 2014 World Cup, everyone thought Argentina had their name on the cup. Messi had incredible players around him, like Sergio Aguero, Gonzalo Higuain, and Angel Di Maria. It wasn't to be. Messi was kept quiet, and an exciting German team won the game 1-0. It was a tough pill to swallow, and the next World Cup saw them exit in the round of 16, much to the disappointment of everyone. Messi's bitter rival Cristiano Ronaldo had just won the Euros with Portugal, but Messi still hadn't won a trophy with Argentina. The team lacked something. All the attacking quality could only get them so far. They needed a hero. They needed Dibu. Goalkeeper had been a position Argentina struggled with for years, until Emiliano Martinez unexpectedly broke through as number one after he made a bold move to Aston Villa in 2021, hoping to become a regular player. He made his debut for the national team that same year after a superb start to life at Villa. Martinez quickly earned the adoration of Messi. His reliable, rock-solid presence in goal made the whole defense more solid, but his ability to make important saves was also crucial. In fact, he saved 3 penalties in the 2021 Copa America semi-final against Colombia and got attention for his antics to wind up the opponents. In the final, Argentina beat Brazil 1-0 thanks to an Angel Di Maria goal. It was Qatar 2022 when Messi finally put an end to the GOAT debate. Ronaldo hadn't yet won a World Cup, and this was likely to be his last one. Argentina didn't start well, losing to Saudi Arabia, but from then on, they were on it. They had a tough quarterfinal against Holland, but more penalty heroics from Martinez and some cheeky dance moves saw them move closer. They made short work of Croatia and set up a final against Kylian Mbappe's reigning champs, France. An epic game went into extra time. Mbappe scored a hat-trick in the game, and Messi scored 2. The game wasn't done for drama either. Muani had a chance to win it for France in the last kick of the game, but who stood in his way? Yep, Dibu. The penalty shootout had more drama, but Argentina won the game and got Messi his trophy, and Martinez got himself in trouble. In 2024, Messi managed to get his hands on another trophy. Emiliano Martinez once again saved 2 penalties in the semi-final versus Ecuador, but it was another Martinez, Lautaro, who scored the winner in the final against Colombia. How much will the next generation win for this national team? Who will be their next star after Messi? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe.